Welcome to the Kenneth L Show, where career, culture, and community coexist. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, coming to you live on 106.5 FM, WPPM, Philadelphia, and streaming worldwide. Also broadcasting live here on LinkedIn. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Listen, Philly, what's good? Yeah, Eagles got another one. Philly's headed to the playoffs. It's a good time in Philadelphia. Weather is lovely today. Just appreciate everybody tuning in, riding around in the house on 106.5 FM. Also, cannot forget our people streaming worldwide and also the people here on LinkedIn. Thank you so very much. This is the show where we cut through the noise and talk truth about the world of work. No fluff, no spin, just people, real conversations, and of course, real information. All right, I know some of you guys tuned in today because we were scheduled to have my friend Dee McDougal on the show today. Dee reached out last night and shared that she needed or needs to deal with a personal matter. Completely understandable. Our prayers are with her and her family. She will not be here on the show today. Dee's a friend and an exceptional leader, a global DEI leader. We actually met. I'm extremely excited to have her on the show. We'll have her on a future show. But we met a few years ago in New York City at an event. Wow, where were we at? I think we were at the Hard Rock. We were at an event. It was the BYP Network event. Kike Agoro had asked me to be a panelist. Dee's company was one of the event sponsors. BYP Network was established in 2016 in London to support Black professionals and students globally. They do an amazing job. So I probably need to thank Kiki for connecting me with Dee, because over the years, 2-3 years, we've managed to, do a couple other events together, support one another's work, and build some great relationships and make some great introductions through that process. So it's been an amazing relationship. I think those type of things are important because that was around DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as I had mentioned, Dee is a global DEI leader. Her company was there supporting that event. The two of us met. We also met Kike, and we've been able to help hundreds of people in their journey to, a fruitful and successful career. So that's why things like that are important. And now, today, with all of this DEI backlash, it's just really interesting, when you think about some of the things that can really come from those types of commitments, company commitments, and supporting equity. All right, as I mentioned, today is just me, no guest, just a straight up conversation between me, the mic, and of course you guys. We're talking about DEI. I'm still going to keep it real. I'm going to keep that conversation that I was going to have with Dee going at some level. And for those that are kind of wondering, if you're out in this space of corporate America, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, has been a hot topic. Did a conversation on it. What did they call that? I did a talk at the National Urban League Conference on kind of the journey that we've taken on this DEI mission. Some of you may not be aware, I have a company called East Coast Executives. It's an executive search firm. Companies come to us when they're looking for talent. Let's just call it that. And we've done a lot of work in that space, and we've met a lot of people. And I just, one of the reasons I started the company was to allow for equity at some of the higher ranks of organizations, the organizations that wanted to work in that fashion. So it's been a 24-year run of supporting organizations that are committed to equity. We'll get through some of that conversation today, but I also want to let you know, if you have any questions, career questions, job search questions, professional development questions that we can answer, please don't hesitate to call 646-600-8510, 646-600-8510, and we'll try to get your questions answered. Even if it's not on today's show, we'll get it answered on a future show. That's a piece that we're going to dive into for future episodes. We're going to start doing more of the Q&A. That's why this conversation with Dee was scheduled to be so important, because I wanted to kind of take you on our journey as a show. We started out the show a couple months ago speaking to some amazing people, coaches, authors, workforce development professionals, community builders. We've had them all. It's been great. Nicole Smith, Minda Harts, Jermaine Jackson, Mac Pritchett, Lisa Rangel, Brenda Mariah. I know I'm forgetting some people. Alfred Edmond Jr. Yes, we've had some great guests, and it's been a really fun ride. But we're on a ride and a journey indeed, because now we're curving a little towards having some real conversations about some real issues that are happening in the workplace. Maybe I'm not going to say leveling it up, but definitely refocusing. And what that means for you is, we're going to focus in on your career, your job search, your workplace. Those are the conversations we want to have, and we want to have them with leaders, hiring managers, and the companies that embrace the type of work that we talk about and what it is that we want to do. Some of these companies have embraced DEI, as we're calling it. Some renamed it. That's fine. I'm 100% fine with that. It's just about doing the work. But some have weaponized it. And here's the question I want to deal with today. What does all of that mean for you? All right, so let's rewind back to 2020. Really important year for our business, because DEI was everywhere. Companies were posting statements, creating positions, rolling out programs at one point. And I know some of this because I just did a bunch of research for this topic in August at the conference. But at one point, 56% of all organizations had a leadership role dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But by 2023, that number dropped to 41%. And that's according to Horton International. So these just aren't numbers I'm making up. These are actual companies that have done this research and put this into play. So think about that. In just 2 years, almost 1 out of every 5 companies that had a DEI leader doesn't anymore. And, people like Dee that are doing that work at organizations, her organization's Capco, they're still supporting and still fighting and still understand the value in diversity, equity, and inclusion, or whatever you want to call it, as we mentioned. And there's a reason that matters for you, the job seeker, the employee, the manager, because that role, if it was the chief diversity officer or the DEI director, was often the voice at the table saying, we need to open the doors. We need to expand opportunity. And if those roles are shrinking, it may mean that there are fewer advocates in the hiring process. So that question becomes, are we just talking about diversity? Or are we actually doing the work? Think about that. Are we just talking about it, or are we don't actually doing the work? Well, here at the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, we prefer to do the work. And this is part of the work, right? Having conversations about it, having conversations about career, providing a place where career, culture, and community can coexist and give value, add value, create impact, create opportunities. So that's where it gets a little tricky. You see, some of the companies, they didn't drop DEI, they just renamed it. They call it people strategy, culture, and belonging. It's the same vibe, but the question is the work still happening? And that's one of the conversations we wanted to have here on the show. So again, it's just me, the mic, and you having this conversation. And I'm really excited. I have notes, of course, so if you see me look away, I'm just trying to stay focused and stay on point on where I'd like to go with this conversation. Again, we plan on asking or answering some of your questions, so please don't hesitate to hit us up, 646-600-8510, Philly, worldwide, LinkedIn. If you can step away, whatever you need to do, get your question over to us. And if we get the time today or the opportunity, we will indeed answer that question. All right, so let's talk about the other side of it, where the term DEI itself has been weaponized, maybe used as a negative. As a political football, I was watching football all day yesterday, so I had to throw that in. Crazy day for games. The weaponization is dangerous because when the letters become toxic, the work stops. And when the work stops, opportunities close, just like we spoke about. So let me ask you this. What happens to your career when the doors that were starting to crack open get pushed shut? I talked to a lot of people that are in a lot of different areas. Some of them are recruiters like myself, talent acquisition professionals. Some of them are coaches, and they've seen some of their clients no longer be supported by their organizations because they viewed that work as falling under that umbrella. They didn't view it as professional development. They viewed it as, I don't know, some sort of one-off where they could easily just take that work and say it's not valuable anymore. And I don't know if I believe that. And one of the reasons is because I constantly look at the numbers. Pew Research says that 52% of workers believe DEI is a good thing. Now that's down slightly from 56% in 2023. Now at the same time, 21% of workers now say DEI is a bad thing. So that number's going up, right? But that's just what people are hearing. People have seen it weaponized. People have gotten on that bandwagon because they believe that opportunities are being removed from them, from their side of the slate, which could be nothing further than the truth. Here at East Coast Executives, we always talk about having the top talent. We have no problem having our talent get an even slate for opportunities. But those are with the companies that we still see investing in it in a positive nature. And that's equity I'm talking about. Over 60% say workplace diversity itself is important, right? And that's Pew Research. So that's built, and that's real data. It's built in, and they're doing that work. They do exceptional research. So the corporate spend may be changing, but the research says other things, and there still is a demand from the workers. It's still there. People want workplaces that reflect reality, that reflect the communities that they live in, that the communities that they support and serve. So as an employee or a job seeker, it means don't just look at the values page on a company's website, the mission statement. Anybody can write, we value diversity. What I'm encouraging you to do, and what we've done at East Coast Executives, we've learned to look at leadership, look at promotions, look at retention. Who's actually at the table? That, my friends, will tell you the real story around, equity at an organization, belonging at an organization, values at an organization. Because here's the truth. Diversity in itself isn't a statement. It's a system. And if you don't see it in the structure, you're not going to feel it in the culture. That's off the top, actually. If you don't see it in the structure, you won't feel it in the culture. So this is different for the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. This is a shift. I usually have somebody that I'm bouncing these ideas off of, but today I'm bouncing them off of you. If you want to talk about it further or later date, if we can be of support to your organization, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, www.eastcoastexecutives.com, or you can hit us up here at WPPM 646-600-8510. We're locked in and doing this for you. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, the place where career, culture, and communities coexist, hopefully for you. All right, so I've dug into what I want this conversation to be about today. And then in true Kenneth L. Johnson fashion, I'm going to shift it a little because this show isn't just about pointing out problems. It's always about solutions. So here's the business case. McKinsey, some great reports. I caught one of these on Forbes a couple years ago, one of the McKinsey reports. The companies in the top echelon for racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to financially outperform their peers. People push this all the time, and it's a real thing. Companies say they're focused on the bottom line. All right, let's talk about it. I did a TEDx talk at Goldie Beacom, and that's in Wilmington, Delaware. Back in, I think it was 2018, 2019. It was called The Face of Workplace Diversity. Please look it up. It's on YouTube, The Face of Workplace Diversity, Kenneth L. Johnson. If you do go over there, I'm going to self-promote, like it, subscribe, do what it is that you need to do to push that conversation forward, because it's still a relevant conversation 8 years later. Again, McKinsey reports that 35% of companies the companies that embrace racial and ethnic diversity are performing at a 35% greater clip. They're outperforming their peers. Gender balanced teams, it's the same. They produce a 41% higher revenue. And this is all according to Enstride, the gender piece. They do a lot of great work on studying how there's impact in gender equality within organizations. I think there's a gentleman, his name's Paolo Giordano. He's a friend. He does the Diversity and Inclusion Research Conference, and he has an organization based out of New York, and I want to say it's called, I can't remember the exact name, but he has a TEDx talk, and he's also a TEDx Harlem speaker. So shout out to Paolo for supporting the work that we do. But he has a diversity and inclusion simulator talk on TEDx, and it's amazing. That's how I became familiar with him. I saw the talk. I reached out to him and said, hey, I need to talk to you. You're doing some amazing work. And he's a research scientist. So he's not just talking about it. He's actually researching it, studying it, and putting real data behind what he's talking about. And I think it's really interesting. So here's exactly what I'm saying, right? If you're a job seeker, position yourself with organizations where inclusion is part of the strategy, not just a slogan. This is kind of where I'm headed in this conversation here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. If you're an employee, pay attention to who's getting promoted and who's getting listened to. And if you're a leader, please understand that ignoring this, and by this I mean equity, DEI, whatever you want to call it, it isn't just bad optics, it's bad business. You want your team to excel, you should be seeking the best talent in the room or the best talent in the space, and making clear-cut decisions on who you want as part of your team and understanding the value that equity brings. And I want to make something clear. You know, the Kenneth L. Johnson Show has always been career-centered and information-centric. This even goes back to our days doing the Career Seeker Show. That's not going to change. We're still going to be the place where you can tune in and get practical tools to grow your career. That's a practical tool. Find yourself with organizations that care about you, want to see you get better at the things that you do, want the value that you add, and want to move forward, right? We're going to start in the future bringing in more corporate leaders so you'll know and you'll be able to see who the people are that are embracing equity. We'll have more hiring managers, more thought leaders. We'll continue to do that work. But I want this program to be solution-based, not just talk, but pathways forward. That's what I want from the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. So this is kind of a recalibration of the work we do. We want to support individuals and we want to support organizations. So that's where the show is going. That's the next level for us. So today's takeaway, DEI is shifting. Some companies are shrinking it. Some are renaming it. Some are weaponizing it. Shame on you. But the need for equity in the workplace, that hasn't gone anywhere. So that's what Dee and I were going to speak about today. Sometimes you can't get caught up in the optics. You have to still continue to do the work and do the work with the people that value the work, right? Job seeker, leader. The real question is, are you aligning yourself with companies that walk the talk? All right, so this is the place where you're going to find it. Real people, real conversations, real solutions every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 106.5 FM, WPPM Philly, streaming worldwide. All right, that is me on my own personal soapbox. I'd like to get focused in on some of these questions. We have had people call in, so I'm excited about that because we haven't done that particular piece on this particular show. So let's see if we can get to some of these questions real quick. Let's see what we got. All right. Bear with me as I find my way through this internal system we have here at WPPM 106.5. Great people I work with. All right, here we go. Let's go.
Hello, this is Alana Merchant, and I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia. My question is it true that recruiters will throw out your resume if they see too much job hopping on your resume? Thank you.
All right, Alana Merchant, Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for calling. I really appreciate you. Listen, will recruiters throw out your resume if they see a lot of job hopping on your resume? All right, so I've been doing this work for quite some time. In fact, I've dated. I've been a recruiter at East Coast Executives for 24 years. And prior to that, I was in staffing and recruiting. So I've done this work for a while. And indeed, there was a time where job hopping was looked at as an automatic no. But recently, as the workplace climate changes, different things are happening in the career space, AI, uh, just organizational movement, downsizing, all of these things that you don't have a lot of control over, but that you should embrace. They've resulted in people keeping jobs, maybe 18 months. I see a lot of that, around 18 months to 2 years, and then people are gone. There was a time when that would be considered job hopping. But right now, that might be considered self-preservation. I think if there's an opportunity and you're in an interview setting and you can prove a legitimate reason why you've made a decision to move to another position, if it's bettered you, bettered your situation, made life a little easier for you, or provided more financial gain, I think companies understand that as long as you're able to express and share what your real value is, what your real contribution is, what your secret superpower that you're bringing to an organization. If you're able to do that, you'll be successful. All right, next question.
Hi, Kenneth. Are companies ghosting candidates more now, or is it just me?
All right, companies are indeed ghosting candidates more now. Not sure what your name is or where you're from. I appreciate the phone call. Are companies ghosting candidates? Listen, that's one way to look at it. But ultimately, we're in a day and age, and again, I want to lean on my experience. It's so easy now to apply to a job, and companies get thousands, thousands of resumes, and they're trying to go through these resumes and find their ideal candidate. And that can be a very, very difficult thing to do, a necessary thing because you want to fill the job as a hiring manager or as a recruiter or a talent acquisition pro. But the ghosting part, it may not be what you think it is. I wouldn't take it personal. It's just that people get tied up in trying to do their job, maybe even with less support from the organization. So sometimes you might get caught in that shuffle. Don't take it personal. Keep applying. Keep trying to build relationships with hiring influencers, hiring managers, recruiters, talent acquisition professionals, people that have some say. And I think as you start pulling those relationships together, you might not feel ghosted, but I wouldn't take it personal. All right, I hope I answered that question to your satisfaction, and we are going to move forward with another question. Let's see what we got here.
Hi, this is Dee calling from Drexel Hill, PA. Do employers actually read cover letters, or is it just busy work?
Drexel Hill, what's good? I think that's outside of West Philly. I love my Philly people. WPPM 106.5 FM. Thank you for chiming in. All right. The question from D was, do companies, I guess employers, actually read cover letters? All right. I'm going to be transparent here in this answer. I don't like reading cover letters. I get a lot of information from the resume. However, if you've decided to submit a cover letter, a lot of people right now are just going to some type of AI tool, creating a cover letter, maybe dropping the position description in and creating a cover letter that corresponds with the actual opportunity they're applying to. Why do I want to read that? That's not you talking to me. That's AI talking to me. Now, if you decide to do what we call a disruptive cover letter, where you share what your relationship is with our company, service, or product, and why this job is something that's really unique to you, and why you really want the opportunity and how you can add value above and beyond, then I would be inclined to read that cover letter. That would be a cover letter I'd be interested in. I have so many examples of people that have made or used the disruptive cover letter technique. It's been amazing to see that work. I used to teach a class in Philly called Connect to Work, and we taught people how to use the disruptive cover letter technique. And that's just a technique where you actually tie your desires to work with that company into a service, a product, or a mission that they actually have that you're aligned with. And you'd be surprised how often that cover letter finds its way around an organization and hopefully produces an opportunity for you to get in front of somebody that can make a hiring decision. So good luck with that. I'm going to try to get to a few more questions here. Let's see what we got. Oh, let's see.
Hey, Kenneth, this is Elizabeth calling from Austin, Texas, and I have a question for you regarding reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn. So I recently saw something where a recruiter was saying they were shocked by people reaching out to them, or hiring managers saying they were shocked that people were reaching out to them on LinkedIn. But I've also been told that this is a best practice. Can you give your advice on what we should do if we're applying for roles and we're able to find the recruiter or hiring manager online? Thanks.
Wow, exceptional question, Elizabeth. Thank you so very much. Calling in from Texas, streaming the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We appreciate it. Share it with your people out there. All right. I'm just going to kind of par the question down. Should you connect with recruiters on LinkedIn? 100% you should. Now, I'm going to get to the reason why. I think you should get ahead of the job posting. So let's just say you made a bucket list of 5 companies that you're interested in working for, and then you've identified recruiters at those organizations. You should start building your relationship now. Don't wait for a job at that organization to become open, a job that matches your skill set. Build the relationship with the recruiters first, and you can do that on LinkedIn. You can comment on posts. You can like things that they share. You can share valuable information about their industry with them. Find a way to build the relationship and put yourself in front of the actual job posting. It works. Trust me. I've seen it work a million times where people build relationships and then the recruiters, I'm a recruiter. So trust me, if I know that you do a certain thing and you do a certain thing well and you want to do it for XYZ company, I am the person that reaches out to you and says, hey, guess what? I have an opportunity with that organization. Would you be interested in just having a conversation? And that's all you really want to do is have a conversation. So indeed, please reach out, connect, link with those recruiters on LinkedIn. That's why they're there. They're there to meet you. So don't be afraid to do that. Great question. Thank you so very much. One more.
Hi, this is Rochelle Blaylock calling from New York City. I have a question. Is it true recruiters toss resumes if they see too much job hopping? Looking for.
All right. So we back on this job hopping thing. Some recruiters do. I think it would be a mistake if you tossed a resume because you saw someone job hopping. Every job's not a fit, and people have the ability, opportunity, and the right to make a move to another position or role or organization. You don't really know what's happening. So, I don't suggest you lock in with somebody who's only keeping jobs for 4 to 6 months at a time. But I do think, depending on how you define job hopping, it's okay for a person to have, several jobs on their resume as long as they stay industry aligned, I think, or at least vertical aligned. And as long as they can explain when you have the conversation how those job hops have benefited them professionally. I think that those are the things that you really want to know about. And if you keep that in mind as a recruiter, I just think it's really important to look at all the talent in the room. And strangely, that is how we started this conversation, talking about having equity and having options within the talent pipeline process. So I think it's important that you look at talent, even if that talent to you appears to have job hopped. All right. It's another edition of the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Look, I know we covered a lot today. This was on the fly. Our guest canceled, and again, our prayers are with her and her family. But we just decided to have a real conversation with you, and it felt pretty good today. Hopefully we answered some of your questions. I know we didn't get to them all. We will do this again on a future show. This has been the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Listen, our thing, the Kenneth L. Johnson Show is really about career, culture, and community. Real people, real conversations, real solutions. We do this each and every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern on 106.5 FM, WPPM Philly, and we stream it worldwide. Until next time, keep building, keep pushing, keep demanding the truth. We specialize in that because sometimes the truth is the solution. We're all about solutions. I told you that. Kenneth L. Johnson Show. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you.